Hey, gang, that song you just heard was Since I Don't Have You by the Skyliners. And in the studio tonight, I have some of the cast from the movie that's going to be coming out very shortly called Since I Don't Have You. I have the writer. I have the young lady playing Jan. I have the young man playing Carrie. I have the young man playing My Buddy Joe Rock. And we're going to just chat to him. First, let me introduce Mr. Gavin Rapp, the son of Janet Vogel. How are you, Gavin?
Good. How are you?
I'm great, man. Thanks for taking time to come in tonight.
Thank you.
This is going to be so much fun, man, because you have a movie coming out. The premiere is going to be when?
The premiere is October 4th.
And the movie, of course, your life through your eyes of
True.
Janet, your mom, and, of course, your father, and the Skyliners.
That's right.
Tell me, just give me, I know we can't give away the movie, but just give me an overview so my listeners know what the movie's going to be like.
Wow. Okay. Well, I would say it is going to be a little stroll down memory lane,
Okay.
you know, and it will be engaging, and it is a tearjerker.
It is a tearjerker.
And they're really going to identify with Jan and the group in ways they never knew that
Never
they could.
did before.
Yep.
Pittsburgh loves stuff like that, by the way. I mean, I'll play a lot of records from groups from Pittsburgh over the years, and they want to hear the stories. They want to hear, what really happened.
Yeah.
Sometimes through the radio and through friends such as myself and so on, we're able to give people that opportunity to actually experience that without actually meeting them or being there themselves. So this is going to be fun. Now, your trip down memory lane, there was a fun trip, but yet it was a sad trip, right?
Sure. Yeah, it was
so-
extremely.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see the movie, first of all, because there's a lot of questions I'd probably ask after seeing it, but...
You and many others, I'm sure. It's going to be fun.
Now, tell me, what gave you the idea about doing the movie?
Actually, it was a friend of mine who gave me the idea. I don't want to say pretentious, but there's just no way I sat around and thought, I could make a movie out of this. So a good friend of mine and a partner producer of ours, Mike Hamilton, is a close friend of mine and knew my life.
Okay.
And I was going through a rough time in my life personally, and he said, you're a good writer, you're a good creative guy. Why don't you write some things down, and maybe you and your wife can talk about some things and not have a better marriage, but have a more stronger marriage.
Yeah, sure.
And so I said, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And one thing led to another. Thank God for my wife to read what I wrote. And she never knew the story because I never talked about it.
Yeah.
I put that behind me, and really I tried to move on with my life, and I did for probably 20 years, but then it caught up with me.
Yeah, absolutely it will.
So when I turned the age, my mother died.
Okay.
That's when I had a reality check.
Oh, wow.
And I thought about all the things that I was going to do in my life after that, and in perspective thinking, wow, my mother would be never here. She's gone, and she was gone at 37, and so how young is that? And I don't even know what I'm doing in my life now, and I'm that age.
Yeah.
So I wrote a story, the best way I could, talked to my wife about it, and ended up sharing it with my good friend Mike, and he said, hey, after reading this, man, this is a movie.
How about that?
And I said, wow, I don't think so.
Did you really?
I don't think this is a movie. And he said, listen, we've got to think through this, and I want you to try to take a step back from it if you can and analyze it and write a screenplay. And I said, wow, I've never written a screenplay before. I don't know how to do that either. So, I took my time and worked through that process for years, and finally got a script decent enough for him to read that would be, to me, in my mind, movie-like.
Yeah.
And after I did that, we decided that we should make a movie out of it. And that's how it came around.
That's amazing. And if any of the questions I ask, if they're too personal, or you just let me know, because I'm watching you talk about this, and we all had times in our lives when things you just don't want to talk about.
Sure.
And a lot of times, whenever it comes out, you do feel better, and it helps you to get that out. Now, when you said it couldn't be a movie, was it because you didn't think it was really a movie, or because you didn't want to expose your true feelings to the world?
No, I thought it couldn't be a movie because who would care?
Okay.
And so why would anybody want to see it? And, I'm just a kid in Pittsburgh, and so who really cares about that anyway? And so, buck up, get a job, and go on with your life. So that's why I thought this can't be a movie, because movies are for people that are in Hollywood that are, supposed to be important and make a difference in people's lives and all that. So I let it go. And so I'm all for the adage now of if you don't speak up and if you don't get it out there, you're not doing anybody any good.
Yeah.
So I'm all for talking about whatever I can, to make it happen, because I've realized that a lot of people didn't talk to me in my life growing up, and it was difficult. And I still know people today that don't really talk about the past. Yeah. And this movie is going to be hard for some people to embrace.
I'm sure.
But it will be cathartic and, cleansing.
That's good to hear. And one of the comments that you made that I think is very important, especially to Pittsburgh, is that Pittsburghers think exactly what you said. We're just from Pittsburgh. I'm just a kid from Pittsburgh. But if you go outside of Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh is an iconic city, and it really is. When you think about the people and the history that came out of Pittsburgh, people want to hear about your mom. People want to hear about the Skyliners. They want to hear about the history. I mean, some things that Pittsburgh doesn't realize is that the Skyliners made more than Pittsburgh history. They were some of the first in the industry to do some of the things that they did, such as be at the Apollo Theater and Accepted. Okay, yeah. I mean that wasn't easy in those days. All right, that's number one. Number two, even though Jimmy disagrees with me, they're given credit for being one of the very first groups to record rock, soul, or whatever type of pop style music that is with strings.
Right.
And Jimmy tells me we weren't. He said actually the Drifters were, but I don't know. He's given credit for that, so it's like, and I'm not going to argue with Jimmy. He was there. I wasn't. You know what I mean? But the story that you're telling, whether it be a story about the actual music or the story about the lives of those that made the music, is a story that I think it's great that the world hears, and Pittsburgh will be proud of that because they love their own.
Yeah, and I think we, at least I've come to realize over the past few years now, maybe the last 5, that it's becoming a story worth telling because it's universal. Although it might not be completely identifiable for everybody to recognize through and through, they will identify with facets of the movie that really strike a chord in their lives.
Nice.
And I know it. I know that's what's gonna happen.
Sure.
So.
Well, I remember the first time you and I talked, and you were getting this off the ground. It was at one of my restaurants over in, I think it was O'Hara Township. Yeah. It was Hatcheries. And you were telling me about this. And I went home, and I was like, I was part of it. I was so excited to hear that you were doing this for many reasons. Number one, I love and always did love the Skyliners. And I loved your mom's voice. She was one of the greatest, if not the greatest, in what she did. I mean, it was just phenomenal. And, of course, everyone in the world knows how I feel about the Skyliners because I talk about them all the time. So, but there's so much more to this that I would like to get into. But if you could just bear with me for 1 second, I got to do a station break. You're listening to the Johnny Angel Heavenly Soul Show here on 1320 WJAS. And across from me in the studio right now, I have Kristen Spatafore, who is playing the role of Janet Vogel-Rapp in the movie. Kristen, welcome.
Well, thank you, Johnny. Thank you for having us all in here today. It's very exciting, and it's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. This is so much fun for me because I feel like I'm living my life over again. Oh, yeah. So it's now,
pretty cool.
I have not seen the movie yet. I have read a lot of the script. I've seen some of the things that I've seen on YouTube, and I've seen some of the roles that you're doing in playing Janet. And I can say just from what I've seen so far, you're doing a remarkable job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It was quite an honor to be considered for the role, and I so enjoyed every part of it, every aspect, whether it went from the singing to the emotional scenes and the ups and the downs and everything. But I was just truly honored to be a part of this movie.
Nice. Now, I want to ask you how you felt playing the role. But before I do, just tell me a little bit about Kristen, okay? What is your background? Where are you from?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm originally from Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I was originally born in Buffalo, New York. And thankfully, my parents moved to Pittsburgh in 1980.
Especially in the winter.
I'm very thankful for that, yes. But I appreciate Buffalo for what it is.
Yes.
I'm just truly glad to be here in Pittsburgh. But and my parents are still here, and I really consider Pittsburgh my home.
Okay.
But I actually kind of grew up with Skyliner music because my dad is a huge follower of the doo-wop music, never left that era. And so I got to appreciate that growing up. And the Skyliners were always my favorite. So that once this project came along, it was like, this was meant to be.
Sure.
So, and what my background is that I was a model. I started modeling when I was 18.
And if I could only tell my listeners, it should be a TV show instead of a radio show because you are beautiful. So this is
thank you. So, and as things progress, you just go, in stepping stones, you go from one thing to the next, and it just kind of led me into the acting industry, and it kind of led me to Gavin and his movie Since I Don't Have You, and I'm just so excited about it coming out, and I think that it's going to be a really big success.
Yeah, I think it will too. I can't wait to see it. But now let me ask you a couple Janet questions, okay?
Yes.
And I'm not putting you on the spot. I just
no,
say.
of course not.
Of course, I did know Jan, and I've seen her perform many, many times, and she was incredible. And what I noticed about Jan is before, on her way to the stage, on the stage, coming off the stage, in any public, she was always a perfectionist. She always had like royalty about her, and she was always so charming, okay?
Yeah,
and from what I've seen of you playing that, you carried that through very, very well.
Well, thank you.
So you obviously didn't meet Jan because...
No. But, I guess I just kind of drew upon my past experiences, and with being out there with fashion shows and things that were on stage, that I could kind of draw
relate to that.
Yeah, I could understand that. I really kind of understood she was the only girl in this all guy group, and so she kind of did have to be a little extra special and sparkle a little bit.
And not only a guy group, but it was a man's world then.
Oh, yeah,
it was so difficult for females to do anything. They recorded, but they weren't given the same respect, the respect level that the men got. So tell me, since you didn't, and you are young, and I'm telling you, what I saw was a great job that you did. Tell me how you got to get that feel of Janet Vogel.
Well, I love the Skyliner music, and just listening to the music, I felt like her. Okay. I felt like, even though all of us in the group as the actors do not sing, we were still up there on the stage singing, and thankfully you don't hear our voices. But it was just something I felt deep inside, that I could understand her being this rock star.
You connected.
I connected with her.
That's amazing, because so many times people play a role, someone that they didn't meet but they knew a lot, and to find out how great of a job they've done is just phenomenal to me. It's and from what I've seen, I can't wait to see the rest. But what I did see, you nailed it.
Well, thank you.
And I have to ask Gavin the next time what he thinks about that, because that had to be hard for him.
Well, that was kind of the challenge there, because I had him watching my every move. So it was there were some uneasy moments, and I just wanted to make sure that I was portraying her the way that he kind of saw. That he envisioned her to be played, and that was it was something that I felt very that was really important to me.
Nice, very nice.
I wanted to make sure that I was doing a good job for him.
Well, thank you, Kristen. And what I'd like to do right now is I want to talk with everybody in the studio. Next, let's move to Kenny, who is playing the role of Kerry, who is Gavin's father. It was Gavin's father, and again in the movie. I've only seen clips, man, and you played a monster. It's like, whoa. I thought, man, when I meet him, should I be afraid?
No, nothing to be afraid of here. Not at all.
Well, welcome to my show.
Thank you for having us. Pleasure to be here.
Kenny Champion plays the role of Gavin Rapp. And again, the little clips I've seen, man, you play it. It's like...
Thank you.
So you obviously never met Mr. Rapp, right?
No, never met him.
Okay.
No.
And so tell me, how did it feel doing that, especially with Gavin, knowing he's looking over your shoulder? And it's...
Well, it's funny that you ask, because he gave me a lot of rein for this. He kind of let me make up my own thing with this guy. So And Gavin was just a pleasure to work with. He let actors do their thing, and if it wasn't what he saw or remembered, then he would reel you in or something like
Yes.
that. So it gave us a lot of latitude to, really embrace the work.
Yeah.
And for me, and I guess, most actors, they'll tell you, I mean, I've been acting since ninth grade, and I just never got a break. So I think a lot of that angst kind of came out in Carrie Rapp. As, in most of the cast, same thing. I mean, we have so many things going on that kind of meshed, but, as actors, what your favorite thing to do is play opposite of who you are in real life. I mean, I'm naturally a funny guy, funny looking. You kind of like lend yourself to that. I got a face for radio. You were talking about how beautiful Kristen is. He's not going to give me that dap. You know what I'm saying? But that's okay. It comes with the territory. I get who I am. But no, so, all jokes aside, it's easier for me to kind of play a monster, so to speak, because those are the guys you are able to kind of see, from afar. You're able to see them more objectively. It's harder to play like yourself.
Right.
Because then you're like, well, am I doing it right? You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just a weird thing, but it was, it was to date my most rewarding acting experience ever. I love playing that role.
And it's kind of neat to watch because, here you are, a Pittsburgher. You grew up, born and raised in Pittsburgh, right? And you've gone through all of the acting things that happen here in the Burgh, and you've done commercials and things like that. And those are things that you're basically building a character that people may not know or know of, right?
Correct.
And now you're walking into shoes that people may not have known, but they know of, and they know the story, at least. And so you had to use not only your insides to, hey, let me act this, but you had to know that you were acting it in the right way.
Right.
It's not easy to do, man.
There was a lot of sleepless nights on this run. I told my friends, hey, keep your phone on. I might need somebody at 3:33 in the morning, and they did. So we got through it all together. We did, but
it's great, man. I'm really looking forward to seeing the rest of it because the clips I saw, man, it's you're walking around the streets of Pittsburgh, people may not like you.
Yeah, well, it's ironic that you say that because Buster, the guy coming up, he played Joe Rock. He's coming up soon. He coined the phrase synchronicities during the run of this show, and we have so many overlapping stories about how he met and I never met Carrie Rapp.
Yeah.
But my mom's a distant cousin of Jimmy Beaumont.
There you go.
So as a young kid, I would grow up watching the Skyliners, and I would love this guy. He was like my hero. He's all flashy on stage with that high note. I'm like, I want to do that. And I could not do that. But it's just weird that, 25 years later, I get to play his arch nemesis.
Yes.
And I never saw those two, in the same room together.
Yeah.
Because obviously they were already estranged at that point.
Yeah.
But, it's just a weird cycle of life. So that kind of kept happening on set, how overlapping, circles
no doubt
and
about
stuff.
it.
So,
which I think makes it even a more cool story point here because
this movie is Pittsburgh through and through, but it's going to blow people's socks off the way we put it together. So I'm proud of it. I'm very proud of it.
Absolutely love it. And if you excuse me for 1 second, I got to do another station break. Hey, gang, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Johnny Angel Heavenly Soul Show here on 1320 WJAS, and I'm talking with some of the cast of Since I Don't Have You. It's the story of Gavin Rapp and his mom, Janet Vogel Rapp, and his family and the Skyliners, and we're just putting this whole thing together. And up next, I have a dear old buddy. This gentleman's name is Buster Maxwell, and he's playing the role of another dear old buddy in the movie, Mr. Joe Rock. And for those of you that know me, know my relationship with Joe, so it's like, Buster, how are you?
Yeah, you got a problem with me playing that role, Johnny?
There's Joe. He's back.
I mean, we can talk about it outside the studio. Just close the door, you and I will go outside and we'll chat.
And Joe has chatted with me quite a bit.
I'm sure he has.
Well, Buster, there's so many questions I want to ask you, man, especially because Joe Rock is truly a character. And Joe Rock, is a legend here in Pittsburgh.
Right.
Not only through the Skyliners, but through a lot of other groups that were very, very popular here, like the Jaggers and many, many others. And Joe was responsible for giving a lot of entertainers their start here in Pittsburgh. But best known for the writing skills that him and Jimmy putting together most of those songs from the Skyliners. And, of course, Joe knowing how to move through the business, so to say, all right?
Produce and market and get it out on the street.
And market's the key word there. It's like
it's interesting you should mention the writing because the opening scene of the film is Joe Rock writing the lyrics to Since I Don't Have You in his 47 Ford Roadster as he's careening around the streets of Pittsburgh, narrowly missing oncoming semi trucks.
On an
and
envelope.
Swearing. Yes, on an envelope.
Yes.
With his gun at his side.
Whenever we brought the Skyliners up to the Vocal Group Hall of Fame and Museum, I was on the board there, and I was part of the original induction up there. And whenever I talked to Jimmy about bringing some of the things from the Skyliners, there is a copy, if not the original, of that envelope. And, of course, he told me the story about how it was written, and it was about Joe's girlfriend he just broke up with. And the stories behind that, at least that's what I was told.
Can you believe she decided to go to beauty school instead of be with me? I'm still upset about it. And I'm just playing him.
So there's a good lead-in question. Buster, I know you very well. You're a great character actor. You're very good at
Thank you, sir.
any of the people that you portray. And watching you in the clips that I've seen so far as Joe Rock, I mean, it was scary, man. I mean, because just some of your mannerisms were it was Joe. I mean, from the walk, the nervousness whenever he got in your face. You know what I mean?
Good.
It was
That's
stern,
good.
but yet you could tell that this could snap at any minute. You know what I mean? It was like, but I loved the man.
Short fuse, right?
Yeah. So tell me, how did it feel doing it, number one? And number two, how did you get all the information about Joe? Because there's not a lot of footage on Joe.
It's funny because everybody that I've ever worked with in Pittsburgh says, "Oh yeah, I knew Joe Rock." I'm the only guy that didn't know Joe Rock. That's everybody in Pittsburgh knew him except me. Because every time I run into somebody that I've written with, because I'm also a music writer and producer, so I'd say, "Dennis, did you work with Joe?" "Oh yeah, I wrote all the string parts on the Skyliners' last album," and people would tell me this, and I thought, well, I missed the chance of meeting him, working with him, but hearing stories from the Jaggers and Gavin and anybody else that knew him, my musical friends, it really helped to put it together. Plus, he's a street hustler that made it big.
Yeah, he did.
And took his instinctive talent and worked with this wonderful group and took it national and international. And it's sort of a self-made guy story. So
Absolutely.
I related to that really well.
Yeah.
And just reading about what he did and reading stories on the internet about him and hearing interviews with him, in fact, that people had sent to me, it really helped a lot.
That's too sweet. I mean, it's I miss Joe because Joe was he was the kind of guy that I didn't know him as a mentor. I mean, he didn't. I wasn't one of the ones he grabbed and made my career go through the roof. I wish he would have.
Sorry about that.
But I knew Joe throughout my entire career because Joe was everywhere, and he was part of so much part of the music scene, and you wanted to be around Joe Rock, you know, and so I saw a lot of things, especially behind stage, that a lot of people may not have seen, and I've seen Joe in his natural element, and I love it. I mean, he's so Pittsburgh. He was so Pittsburgh, and he had such a influence on so many people. And that's the way you came off from the clips I've seen so far. You come off as that influencing, protective, you know what I mean? And that's from what I knew of Joe. That was I think that's great.
Well,
and
great. It was fun. It was a tribute. It was an honor to play him.
I can't wait to see it.
Fun. It was
I
an
really can't. And I know the things that you do. So it's going to be fun seeing the entire film.
We're looking forward to it. And everybody in the cast, especially the group and Kenny, they're all terrific on stage. And when I have to tell you one little story about the Skyliners cinematic group. We shot a scene at Cefalos nightclub in Carnegie, and in between takes, they kept running the tracks, and the group kept performing. And even though they were lip syncing, people were spellbound.
Oh yeah,
the group did so beautifully on screen, on stage, that the audience sat there and just watched them perform and then applauded.
Yes,
and it wasn't even part of the film at some time.
It's so appreciation.
Everybody in the cast is really, truly wonderful.
Well, you know, you mentioned that. The one clip I did see of Jimmy. Saying the gentleman playing Jimmy in the movie,
Ron Marnich,
is his
terrific.
His one expression is Jimmy to a T. Mm-hmm. It's like, and when he runs off stage, he got that down. I mean, that's
it's
you know,
terrific.
I mean? It really was cool to see that again. You know,
and they lip sync beautifully, which is a skill not everybody can do.
It's not easy to do.
It really looks wonderful.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that. But before anyone leaves, there's another gentleman I want to acknowledge, and I'd like you to say just a few words. We have Ron Hankerson here with us also. He is the co-director and cinematographer. Now, there's a Northside word. I've never said cinematographer in my life. How are you, Ron?
I'm fine.
It's good to have you here, man. And the question I have for you is, you shot all these
I shot
actors
a lot of
and
it,
actresses,
that's for
right?
sure, yeah.
Okay, so doing that, How did that feel, knowing that's history? You're redoing history.
Just being able to listen to Jimmy sing over and over again in the editing suite, listening to the performances as we shot these terrific actors, just one after another, every note reflected in their faces. You know, I basically bring a lot of technical skill to this thing.
Okay.
I've had a lot of experience throughout all this stuff, and everything from putting together, trying to raise the money, through getting it, in a shape that people can watch it. When Gavin told me that he had, that his mother was Janet Vogel Rapp, I thought, this is like one of the very first women to sing rock and roll.
Amen.
I mean, all the way back, I was when Since I Don't Have You came out in '58, I was 10.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody else here was.
I wasn't born yet.
No. Oh, Gavin was born. You weren't born yet.
I try, man. It's like
yeah, it's nice, right? But just working with all of them and getting these reactions and getting the faces and getting the deliveries of all the lines and everything, and Gavin has, Gavin didn't mention it, but he has a whole viewpoint of the story from the eyes of someone who is 13 years old.
Yeah.
And to just, a lot of times he was saying, well, just do this. And I'd be going, well, that's not exactly. And he'd go, remember, this is a kid doing this.
Yeah.
This is a kid.
That's right.
This is a child perceiving all this stuff. And I, even now.
That's a great point.
Even now in post-production, I'll make some elegant cut, and he'll say, like, a kid wouldn't see it that way. And I go, oh, yeah. I can remember that.
Saying that, though, I think that's important because now when I do watch it, that'll stick in my head.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And
right.
that's a great point.
Yeah, one of the log lines was through the eyes of a child. The world is, what is it? The world is not so wonderful always through the eyes of a child.
Yeah.
It's a really wrenching experience to live with this for 5 years, while you're doing everything from starting it to putting it together. It's just, I was just like everyone else, they're honored to play the parts, and I'm honored to put the parts on.
That's great to
tape.
hear. It's I can't wait until
I said tape on
on
those memory chips.
Hey, I still play records.
Still spinning those records, yeah.
Hey, gang, if you're just tuning in, I got to tell you, I'm having such a good time in the studio tonight because we're talking with the cast from Since I Don't Have You, and Gavin and the whole crew is here, and we're having so much fun just reminiscing about the Skyliners and especially about the life of Janet Vogel Rapp and Gavin Rapp. And so anyway, you're listening to the Johnny Angel Heavenly Soul Show here on 1320 WJAS, and I just want to wrap this up, but before I do, I have to ask Gavin one more question. Now, Gavin, you heard everybody here tonight talking about it. You just filmed this whole movie. From the heart, how hard was that for you to sit there and relive this again, number one, but then watch people actually doing what you lived and experienced? How did that feel to you?
Let's see. It's hard to put that into words because when I wrote it was harder.
Okay.
Because I was really
bringing it out. Yeah.
And then seeing it and directing it and being there wasn't so bad. It was more of let's make sure we get this right.
Yeah.
And let's make sure, like Ron said earlier, I want to make sure we show this a certain perspective that's unique. And so we were more involved, how are we going to show this?
Okay.
To be true to the writing.
Well, yeah, you have a lot to be proud of with this for many reasons. Number one, you're documenting history, and it's Pittsburgh history, which to the people listening to this show, that means more than just about anything in the world because Pittsburghers are very proud of not only what they do and what they have, but their own.
Our email's pretty busy. We have people from Australia, New Zealand, Japan, all over the world that are waiting for this movie to come out. And so when I started getting those replies, and inquiries as to when can I buy it. Yeah. I know it might not play in Japan, so I want to buy it. Can I buy a poster? Can you send me a T-shirt? I thought, what the heck?
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow! How do these people find out about this? But it seems to be now growing, organically, yes. And the fans are talking about it. The Skyliners, God bless them, talk about it every show they go because people ask them, "Hey, when's a movie coming out?"
Yep.
And then, can you sing a few songs? So it's like, wow, it's really, it's taken a life of its own. So I'm glad we've been able to do it, and hopefully, it'll give us a little bit of a feather to put in our cap to say that, since a lot of movies have been shot here that aren't from here, we're from here, and this is what we can do,
One thing you just said, and I would like my listening audience to know, you mentioned about T-shirts and how do I get the movie and how to the premiere come out. How can people get in touch with you to buy T-shirts, movies, memorabilia, whatever? How do they get in touch with you again?
It's our company's called Winter Morning Pictures.
Okay.
So they can go to wintermorningpictures.com.
Oh, good.
Or they can go to sinceidon'thaveyoutthemovie.com.
Nice.
And it'll just lead them through.
Good.
And Facebook, too.
Facebook,
We have lots of fans on Facebook.
Well, I'll be mentioning this throughout the show, and this is something that I'm very, very proud to be part of because, as you well know, I loved your mom. I love the Skyliners. I love Pittsburgh. I mean, there's just something about Pittsburgh, man. When you're part of it, when Pittsburgh hugs you, you're hugged, man. It's like, And so this is a real pleasure for me to talk with you about this, and I know how much this is held close to your heart. So I appreciate you sharing it with me and with my listeners.
Thank you. It's been good to do this, and I've actually gotten closer with my family because of it, which is nice. My boys, Kieran and Jack, and they say we're famous, but I say it's hard work. You just got to keep plugging away, man.
That's great, though, man.
But they see guys like you. We take them to the shows, or they see the Skyliners, and they're on top of the world. They love the music.
That's so nice.
Trying to pass that down.
But as your story and your movie will show, deep down inside, no matter how big anyone looks up on that stage, there's still people.
That's right.
And when you come off that stage, you got to live life, man. And it's like that's the most important thing, And, well, I got to thank all of you for being here tonight. And, of course, we'll be talking about this throughout the weeks until the premiere, and I'm looking forward to seeing
October 4th.
October 4th. Don't forget, mark your calendars. And can they get tickets for that?
They can get tickets for that.
You don't want to miss this, gang. So here's what you do. You go online and you make sure you get your tickets because I'm sure they're not going to be available for long. And this is a movie. Once this is really out there and the public knows what's going on, it's a movie that every Pittsburgher is going to want to see.
The Skyliners will be there, too.
And the Skyliners will be there, too. Hey, my buddy Jimmy Bowe, huh?
That's right.
Well, thank you so much. Much success with the movie and with your careers, especially all the actors and actresses and cinematographers who are here today. I wish you all very well with your careers, and the most important thing, may God bless each and every one of you. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Johnny. Appreciate it. Thank you.